Hi and welcome. I'm Jessica Glass, a doctoral candidate in the Department of Exercise, Health, and Sports Sciences at Pennsylvania Western University. My research focuses on integrative and holistic health for military, their families, and really anyone because this information can benefit many. My emphasis is on non-pharmacological strategies to prevent and manage chronic musculoskeletal pain while promoting optimal physical and mental well-being through integrative and holistic approaches. So to help me with this today, I have gathered a panel of individuals who bring diverse professional backgrounds and experiences, including Jeremy Wetzel, an Air Force veteran with 7.5 years of experience, completing 2 deployments to Iraq and Qatar, and is currently obtaining his doctorate of physical therapy degree to provide us with some physical strategies on preventing and managing chronic pain. His beautiful wife, Laura Wetzel, at the bottom, also an Air Force veteran with over 6 years of service, completing a deployment to Qatar to provide her experiences of dealing with chronic low back pain in and outside of the military and how she navigated her care. Veronica Nelson, serving 4 years in the U.S. Army and working for the military for 26 years, where she ultimately retired as the Director of Fitness Health Promotions Programs. And Colton Smith, an active duty special operations service member with 20 years of service, completing 6 deployments, including Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria, and traveled to well over 40-ish countries. Veronica's in Spain. Jeremy and Laura are in Texas, and Colton is in Virginia. So hopefully there's no lag in communication. But thank you all for your service in and outside of the military and for joining me today. All right, so there was a study done in 23 in the Military Medicine Journal discussing many of the training activities performed in the U.S. military may cause impact and or overuse injuries and may lead to chronic pain. So first, I want to speak to Laura because chronic low back pain is the most common musculoskeletal disorder in North America, aligning with the military population, followed by chronic neck pain. And so Laura has some experience with this issue. So Laura, first, can you tell us a little bit more about your military background and experiences?
So I was in emergency management. The easiest way to explain it is we prepare for the worst and hope for the best. Um, it involved a lot of training in that preparation, carrying a lot of heavy equipment on our back, whether we were pulling a cart or wearing an air tank on our back. So a lot of wear and tear that you don't really realize in the moment. But when you connect the dots, that's what I tie it back to. I don't have a cool story of where my pain came from. So through my years of service and in the training, it was that wear and tear of just that all of that equipment in training.
Yeah, and that's kind of a misconception that pain and disability are due to some abrupt injury, whether being deployed or some drastic accident or blast injury, which is definitely the case in some instances, which I know Colton can attest to. But overuse injuries are just injuries that develop gradually over time due to repetitive stress on the body. So like poor techniques, just, new soldiers or new airmen that come into the military and are just trying to be gung-ho and do what they need to do, listen to their higher ups, and then they end up developing some injury, and then they either just put a band-aid on it, push it off to the side, and then that's where it just gets worse. Inadequate rest and recovery, ruck marches, or just constantly carrying weight like you did. So Colton, can you tell us a little bit about the injuries or pain throughout your 20 years of service?
Absolutely. So things from direct injuries, from training or being deployed, and then obviously injuries that have been exasperated or those injuries that have been exasperated, or either from concussive blasts in training or concussive blasts downrange. And then it just gets prolonged. And like you said, put a band-aid on it. And it was kind of a stigma back in the day where you don't really go to sick call, as we call it in the Army.
Yeah.
Kind of just toughen up and get after it. Things have changed now, but back then when I first came in, that's kind of how it was, and that's kind of what we all did, and almost like a badge of honor, if you will, at that time. Looking back, obviously, it wasn't very smart when it came to the rehabilitation piece, but we have that now, and that's what we're trying to get after, and I'm kind of playing catch up with that later on in my career.
Yeah, so that's exactly why my entire just research foci is on this because, I was in the military, oh God, almost, 12 years ago. And same thing, I joined at 17, I just gung ho, just trying to, I'm only 5'2", short female. I got to be tough and show these guys up. And then I ended up hurting myself, something so stupid on a ruck march. Didn't say anything, and then just it progressively got worse. So something so minor. And I know we'll get into this, but just trying to change the mindset. But also I know there's that stigma, and being military, we try to be tough. We want to be tough, and we don't want just something so minute kind of wear us down. So this is exactly why I wanted to talk to you guys, to get just preventative and management support, just so we can provide that evidence, knowledge, and support for all of our listeners. So going back, can you tell us a little bit more about your military background? Just overall what your job is. So I know you're a special operations service member, but can you explain what that is, what that entails, what you started out as?
Similarly to you, I joined at 17. My mom had to sign me up and ship me off to the government, ship me off to the Army. And it happened to be the height of the war in Iraq, and I actually chose infantryman. So after infantry school, I went straight to jump school, and then I found myself in Iraq less than a year later for an 18-month deployment, conventional Army at that time. And so basically cut my teeth the first half of my career in the conventional Army and served from, rifleman, machine gunner, all the way up through to troop sergeant major, or excuse me, troop first sergeant, and did all that, and then jumped to the other side and found myself in special operations the rest of my career, and that's where I've been ever since. Drastically different battlefields for sure, just because the wars have changed and morphed. So my experiences in the conventional Army, I probably saw a lot more kinetic warfare in the conventional side than I have on the special operations side. And that's just based on timeline of when I joined both at that time. But seeing like the injuries and stuff that not only I've sustained, but also my soldiers have sustained, and service members around me, and then seeing how the care has improved in the military. And admittedly, part of that is probably because on the special operations side, we're a lot smaller, so we have a lot more readily available resources. But I do believe that the general purpose force, the bigger army for me, they definitely have resources that were never around when I was, coming up in the army. So yeah, that's my story in a nutshell. I've had a very unique career as an infantryman, been able to work on the Hill for Congress, been able to work in the Pentagon with the brass up there, and travel the world with both those parties. So it's been a pretty unique experience, but definitely one that now I'm kind of playing catch up on a lot of the injuries and stuff, and working through all those. But it gets me educated on help, my younger service out.
And you have what, 2 years until you retire, correct?
Yeah, I'll probably actually cut out next year. That'll be
Ooh.
when I'm done. Yeah, I've already got an approved retirement through SOCOM, so I extended 6 months for them so they could find a suitable replacement. But yeah, I'm done next year. So
You say that, but
yeah, I
we'll
know,
see.
I know
You also run a jiu-jitsu gym, so you'll definitely be busy.
for sure. Always busy. Yeah, never.
So Veronica, so with Colton, you joined when? 2001? What year did you join Colton?
2005.
2005. Okay, so Veronica, you actually joined well before the war, correct?
Yes,
So
1986.
okay, so do you want to talk a little bit about that? I mean, just eventually we'll get into the changes between pushing medication to not, before the height of the war. Can you just explain kind of your side with your background, as well as just what it was like in the military when you were in?
It was a lot of suck it up. And as a female, it was even more suck it up because you didn't want to say anything because you were already at a disadvantage, especially then. I was an anomaly. I already worked out a lot. I was weightlifting. So I was the odd person in the gym who was in there lifting weights because I knew I was little. I knew I needed to support my body and be able to do well. And I am one of those people. I was like, I'm not going to get shown up by a guy. So I was like, if I can help it. So I did everything I could. That wasn't the norm at the time. But that also led again to overuse injuries because I wasn't the educated person that I might be today. I didn't really know what I was doing, and no one there knew what I was doing or how to help me. So, but it did actually bring some focus on that because the Army was looking at different ways to train people, and improve fitness across the board. So it was an interesting time to start and do things, but the resources weren't there. If you were, it was, the take a Motrin, that kind of thing. There was a lot of that. It wasn't at all as robust as it is now. The improvements across all the branches with their holistic preventive maintenance, medicine, all those things is a great improvement over what existed back then.
Yeah, good. So can you now go a little bit further into after you exited the military and you've been working, in and around the military for many, many years. Can you just explain what your jobs and your responsibilities entailed?
So I got out. I was in 4 years because I needed the college money and I don't take orders well, so I had to get out. So I moved along and took that love of fitness that I'd learned for myself and then in the Army, and decided that the military, having gone through it, really had some missing pieces as to knowledge, how to train themselves, how to take care of themselves once they were injured. So I started working for the Marine Corps after I got my degree in exercise physiology, and I started not just focusing on training healthy people. I really started looking at serving even the injured, even though that wasn't I had a small minor in athletic training, but I was by no means educated in physical therapy or the other things, but those folks weren't there. So I tried to fill a gap, and I tried to get other trainers to see the need to fill that gap. We can do and needed to do more. So as I advanced in in Semper Fit with the Marine Corps, as I became the fitness director, I tried to begin integrating working with physical therapists and doing a return to readiness program. So working with the Navy side and working with our trainers to get them educated on how to take Marines or their family members even, or Navy members on Quantico, where I was, out of the physical therapy department into the gym to get them ready to perform again. I worked with the basic school, with the officers over there now they have a very robust program with athletic trainers and physical therapists, but they didn't. So we try to take our little bit of help over there and help them, because they were wasting so much money and resources recycling broken officers who are already there for 6 months in a school at an exorbitant amount of money. And then they would break, sit in the barracks, do absolutely nothing, training stalled. They weren't hurt enough to get out, but they weren't well enough to train. And the Marine Corps was like, no, thank you. So we tried to fix that. And then the Marine Corps and the Navy caught up, and they started working together to bring that type of training on board. So it's been a thing always, the missing piece of prevention and then a holistic approach. Once a person is injured, it's not just physical, it was mental, because there's nothing like a nagging injury to break your spirit, especially in that type of environment. You're already, sometimes for females, we're already at a disadvantage. We're already told we're not enough, we're not going to make it. And then you actually get hurt and you're sitting there going, well, they're almost right, but I'm not going to let them be right. So they finally kind of realize they just can't throw everybody in the pool and expect them to swim. And that's a great benefit. So the last part of my career was building that holistic type of program back at Quantico. The headquarters level started bringing in, every base is getting athletic trainers, every base is getting spiritual wellness, mental health individuals in the gyms, in the centers, to try to make it a unstigmatized and holistic type of system. So instead of going to behavioral health or to the psychiatrist at the Naval Clinic, they're going to the gym, and it's a whole different ball of wax. It's wonderful.
Yeah, that's great. Because I noticed, like with athletes, or maybe even Colton can talk about this with just being a little bit higher up and being in the field that he's in. But just like you said, so military, they join the military, don't really know what they're doing. They may be young. They go in, they work out, do what they need to do. If they get hurt, then just like you said, they either get kicked out and then they become on disability, or med boarded, or they ended up staying in and just kind of going through the cracks. And I know with athletes, you get injured and then you have all these resources available to you, not just getting back to just regular daily living, but now you got to perform. You got to get back in there, whether, you're, playing college ball or whether you are, getting paid to do this at the professional level. With military, it's like, okay, well, what do? You just can't get them back to baseline. Now we need to push them a little bit further so they can get better. So having these resources, whether if they get injured and they need surgery or not, and just working with a physical therapist, but even beyond that, they need to do something. So that's great that they're starting to come up with preventative and management measures, but also just providing the education. I think that's one of the biggest downfalls, because we can put people here and there to help, but we also need just more support and more education for just kind of the masses. So now I want to go back a little bit more to just specific chronic pain. And Laura, I know you've had your fair share. So you were in the military when you got injured. You kind of dealing with just the, I guess, rehabilitation, what they were going to give you. Then when you got out, then you had to deal with the Veterans Affairs and then just working in the community. Can you tell us a little bit about you just navigating your care?
Yes, it is night and day, active duty versus through care through the VA. Like most people said, just throw a Band-Aid on it, or take that Motrin and throw some dirt on it. Um, while I was active duty, in my experience, it was okay. Let's pump you up, juice you up with whatever medication to get you back to the mission. I did do PT while I was in. However, it was just basically to keep me well enough to still be able to do my job. Um, I don't regret getting out because I feel like if I would have stayed in, I would be more broken than I feel like I am today. Whenever I first got out and went through the VA, their approach was, okay, well, let's start from ground zero, as if these injuries had never existed or I had been receiving treatment for them for years. So, for example, with my back, going through physical therapy, they're like, well, have you tried this? So it's like you're starting from the very beginning of your treatment. The VA's approach is a lot more hands off. It's like, well, you don't really need to be healthy because you're not, you know, supporting a greater mission, but it does affect you, physically and mentally in your everyday, day to day life and your just quality of life. So it's still important to make sure you're taking care of yourself, whether you're active duty or, you're a veteran outside.
Yeah, and it makes sense because I mean the Veterans Affairs are going to the hospital. They're like, okay, you're injured, you have some type of illness, something is wrong with you, and let's treat that. Whereas in the military, they're like, push that off to the side. We're here to focus on a mission. So it makes sense, but it's like, well, if we can prevent this and provide the education so you don't get hurt, then maybe you don't have to deal with the VA. And everybody knows no one really wants to deal with the VA. They are getting better,
Mhm.
from what I've been told, throughout people who have been going for forever. Um, Now, do you have any suggestions on things that you do just to help with your overall well-being, whether mentally, physically, dealing with pain, or just overall health?
It's a work in progress. It's a constant maintenance. I would say it's not like, oh, you can do these stretches one day and then you're good forever. I'm guilty of that, of just slacking. For example, this past week, my neck flared up really, like really tight, but I hadn't been doing my stretches or foam rolling. Um, I work now at a desk from 8 to 5, so it's easy. Just you're sitting there all day, just crouched at a desk. So I try to be more mindful of my posture when I'm at work or getting up and taking frequent breaks. Thankfully, I work in an organization that they're very mindful that we are at our desk most of the day. So they got us all standing desks. So they're promoting that taking care of yourself. And yes, we have a job to do, but also we need to make sure that we're well and healthy to be able to do that job. So being proactive instead of reactive.
Yeah, that's definitely good advice. And it's kind of when you weren't doing your stretches and then you had the neck flare up, it's like karma. You didn't want to do it. We're gonna make you feel
Yeah.
it.
Yes, for sure.
All right, so Colton, what about you? So being special operations soldier, do you have any suggestions just dealing with this career for so many years?
Yeah, the education piece obviously has been big, and I've definitely seen an improvement with educating the masses. So not only on the special operations side, but on the conventional side as well. There was a program when I was leaving the conventional side called Comprehensive Soldier Family Fitness, CSF2 Prep. I think they may have changed the name by now, but basically it was a holistic approach to healthcare for service members and their families. But even like mental, like preparation for selections or mental preparation for field operations or pre-deployment. So looking at that kind of total fitness from like a lens of physical, mental, emotional, spiritual, and that's what they do. And they have like sports psychologists on staff, they have nutritionists, they have strength coaches, dietitians. So all come together to be able to help out. And commanders at the O5 level could delegate it down to the O3 level, and they could bring it to their companies, their battalions, their brigades. So again, that's something that definitely did not exist when I first joined the Army, and it would be off that, to be honest with you. But seeing that education and then going back to what we would call in the Army basic soldier discipline, where if you're an infantryman, you know you have to be fit, you know you have to be able to do your job, what the country calls you to do at any moment's notice. So with that education comes obviously the personal responsibility as a service member to utilize it. So I guess the old saying, like you can bring a horse to water, but you can't force it to drink. I think that's a big thing. That's the art of leadership in that moment, and that's something that we continually do, even on where I'm at now, where everyone's a lot more senior, a lot more mature. We still make sure we keep each other accountable. Like on my team, regardless if I'm their boss or not, they're going to tell me if I'm slacking. So we have that good accountability, and I know the military's had that forever, since 1775. We've had the same kind of accountability for one another, and razzing, if you will. But yes, a lot of improvement with the education for service members and their families. So uh, does it mean we have a more fit force nowadays? Maybe not, with the just who we're recruiting nowadays. But that's going to take, just again, the art of leadership and figuring out how to impact the masses and how to get them bought into being better mentally, emotionally, and spiritually.
Yeah, thank you. So it's funny because I was thinking about this as we were all talking, and you know, you being special operations, and then we have, officers, and I'm going to pick on the Air Force a little bit, but it seems like a lot of great resources, what I feel like everybody needs, is there and it's available, but it's only to like select groups. And it definitely does make sense because, once you're a special operations soldier, you guys are going in and kind of doing the things that we all assume what the military is, when it's not quite that. So you guys do need those resources, and that's great that you have it. But just like you said, with I guess, the ones that they're recruiting now, or just, the older generation says that this new generation is softer. And then just, people who come in, they're 17, 18, they join the military. And, now we're giving them all of these resources, the holistic resources. Now we're asking, well, are you guys tough enough to even do this? So I think giving them the education and the support at the beginning is great. But it's definitely going to be a change. And just like you guys said, back in 1995, and then there's still a transition, but it's interesting seeing this transition, and it's nice to be a part of it. At least it's going in a positive role, I'm hoping. But so we've touched on just the misery that chronic pain can be. So I want to talk to Jeremy, who we haven't really heard too much from. He's still on mute over there. I want to talk to you just before we get into just the suggestions with preventing and managing chronic pain on a physical therapy side. Can you tell us a little bit more about your background, your experiences with the military, through the program you're in, and just tell us who you are?
Okay, yep. So I'm Jeremy. I was in the Air Force for 8 years. I joined back in 2014. Um, Basically, I was aircraft maintenance, progressed through my shorter career, and I realized I didn't really like that side of the career. And what I enjoyed was helping people and helping people return back from a disabled, debilitated, whatever state they may be in, and help reach their goals, to help basically all aspects of life. That's some of y'all mentioned that being in pain, being injured isn't just a physical injury. It can be wear on you mentally. It can wear on you emotionally, and a lot of different aspects of that. And so that's why I wanted to get into the physical therapy field. And I got out in 2021, I think it was, and started toward my doctorate. And I only have a little bit left until I can start all my full-time clinicals.
Yay. So you like it?
I do, yes.
Good, good. Okay, so now I just want to pick your brain a little bit. So can you give us any specific exercises or strategies specifically for low back or neck pain for people like our two broken people over here, Laura and Colton?
So, I mean, that's kind of, as we mentioned earlier, like a kind of a leading question. There's not really one specific thing that you can just do. Like, okay, you have low back pain, do this exercise, you'll be good forever. Like, you can go in, and if you are injured, physical therapists, I will say, be the first one to admit, physical therapists are not athletic trainers. They're not personal trainers. They're there to help you get back from an injury, almost pretty much back to what you were at before the injury. It does require that extra step that it gets put on the person, the individual specifically, but also if they are in the Army, having these resources to further advance that so you don't get injured in the first place. A lot of injuries, yes, there are the traumatic injuries, especially in the military, explosions, anything like that, that might get to you, but the overuse injuries are probably the most common thing that you're going to go into. And really that leads up to graded exposure. So basically, if you're just throwing, a new 17, 18-year-old into basic training, what's the most common thing you probably hear? Shin splints, low back pain, neck pain, because you're just throwing a ruck on and you just start walking. As opposed to actually like grading that, okay, let's start with, a little bit lighter, and then we'll progress into that, rather than just throwing them into the deep end and sink or swim kind of thing. But basically just strengthening what's weak, the weak link of the thing, because that's what's going to break first. It doesn't matter how strong the 17-year-old and hard-headed he thinks he is going in and like, I'm just going to power through. Everybody has these little weak links, and that's what's going to break ultimately when, you're going through all these long training missions.
Yeah, so can you, I know when I talked to you before in another interview that we had, is you explained how working the thoracic, just the middle back, is something we need to focus on. So with, neck, if you have your neck issue, then, we just want to focus on neck, but we need to remember we need to work the other area. So our middle back. And then if we have low back injuries, then we also want to work our middle back. We kind of, rather than just focusing on the one area that hurts, we also need to focus on above and below the issue. Can you explain a little bit of that and what exercises you would recommend with actually working our middle back?
So, a lot of people, basically what I was saying, let me just a little recap. One joint up, one joint below is what we learn. So in the cervical, that is kind of the top of the joint, right? You don't have a joint up higher than that. So working on your thoracic, rotation, extension, that's a lot of very limited motion that people are going to have. So working on that. And then for the lower back, you can do, your thoracic, your entire spine, basically. And then also your hips. A lot of people have weak glutes, tight hip flexors because we're sitting all day. So you kind of get put into this anterior pelvic tilt. And that's putting extra stress because it's elongating, some muscles and it's shortening the other ones. And maybe it's muscles that you don't even know the name of, iliopsoas. Like, I didn't know what that was leading into it. But these smaller, stabilizing muscles or muscles that I mentioned that are weak or, facilitated tight, working on loosening those and strengthening the ones that aren't. So I guess to answer your question, I know that was kind of a roundabout answer. You can do like open books is a thoracic extension thing. So you're laying on your side and you're kind of really rotating and working on the rotation movement. Any kind of abdominal also. So yes, your thoracic spine, but also your abdominals. Working on a lot of those. Your abs aren't just your six-pack muscles. You have a lot of deep intrinsic muscles. So you're, I won't even go into all of them, but you're, because it doesn't matter that much. But working on that, your posture and bracing your core and then below your hips, working on your glute muscles, different kind of hip extensions. You can do hip abductions. So when you're kicking your leg out like this, you can kind of grade that, do banded exercises, and just kind of working on strengthening these muscles that are often forgotten.
Yeah, that's good to know. And actually, just thinking about Veronica and kind of her whole military and just working with the military experience, I can see her the wheels turning in her head saying, "Yep, like this is what you need to do." And with Laura, so it sounds like her organization allows her to stand up and to do different things and just always on her phone. All generations now we're just always looking down. And then for people who have to sit at a desk all day, always just rounding our shoulders. I've been saying soldiers too much, our shoulders. So I think opening up and then working on our abs, our core, our our back is going to help our neck issues, our low back issues, and then just overall our entire, I guess, kinetic chain or our entire body. So thank you for that. So we've talked a lot about physical, but hearing from each person, a lot of this can also affect our mental well-being. So whether stress levels, our mood, whether it's due to the pain or just being in the military for so many years or whatever, just life in general. And I think military has to deal with this a little bit more just because of the responsibilities that we hold. So can I get your guys' input, mostly Laura and Colton, on just do you have any suggestions for what you do for just the mental aspect of dealing with chronic pain?
I'll chime in. The mental part for the first few years, I mean, I still have these thoughts or feelings every once in a while, but when I first got out, I felt like I was broken, damaged goods. Like I'm never going to be healthy again. My prime is over. But you feel like you're broken goods, but that's not true. And that again, like the physical part, it's a ongoing maintenance. Um, I think everything starts with a thought and then action. So it's just a daily chore, a daily thing to keep in mind that your injury, it doesn't define you, and it will get better, but it's the work that you put into it. It's not going to get better if you just think about it. You actually have to use those resources that are available. So it's a continuing maintenance.
Being proactive, like you said earlier.
Yes.
And just for me, I feel like very similarly, but from a leadership perspective, leadership in my civilian life and leadership in my military life, and also being the leader of the household with my children, when they see me injured, a lot of what they see, I think, this guy's broken. He's been in the army for too long, too many deployments, injured too many times. But them seeing me still get up, still get after it, even, and not to the detriment of the injury, but just finding things that I can do. Like for me, I've always had the outlet of mixed martial arts, the outlet of jujitsu, grappling, whether that's just coaching, right? And that fills my cup. That helps me mentally to where I'm still staying active, but I may not be exasperating an injury while I'm healing, while I'm going through recovery, while I'm rehabbing whatever's going on with me, which has happened several times throughout my career. Even when I was younger, I had some pretty wild injuries. But I feel like what I could verbally impart on somebody would be find your outlet, find what kind of fills that cup. Preferably something that's active, even if it's just walking, even if it's just getting out and getting outside, some fresh air, getting some vitamin D from the sun. And then couple that with your stretching, your rehabilitation techniques, and your foam rolling and fueling properly. I think that's a big thing. People get hurt. They start going for comfort foods and other vices in life. And I think, and I say this quite a bit to people. For those of you that have children, you guys know the Disney or Pixar. I think it's Pixar movie Cars. If you were to incarnate tomorrow as Lightning McQueen, do you want 87 octane or do you want 110 race fuel? And you want 110 race fuel, so fuel yourself. Your body needs it, especially for recovering. You need to eat right, sleep right, hydrate right. We can control those things. Even on a budget, you can still control those things. How you fuel yourself, and your body's going to love it for that, and it's going to heal faster. So find an outlet and fuel properly, hydrate properly, sleep properly while you're injured, and you're going to recover a heck of a lot faster than you would if you're eating comfort foods, drinking alcohol, not sleeping, and not getting outside and just doom gloom while you're injured. So for me, I watching me everywhere I go, and so it's important for me to make sure I set that example when I am injured.
Well said. So with all of those that you recommended, that's great. And then just being proactive, I understand that we want to say, oh my God, this sucks, or I'm in pain right now. And we understand, but let's move past that. So, we always say embrace the suck. And I feel like that's kind of what we're talking about right now. But, research has shown like you have to be proactive. You have to be proactive. You have to do something, finding that outlet, constantly, not constantly moving, but find the balance between, if you have poor technique, for example, we're staring at our phones, we're looking down, we're constantly hunched over, just reminding yourself, hey, open up, sit up straight, try to focus on that so we can also, not further exacerbate our injuries. And then being proactive. If we have to do stretches, like Laura said, then we need to do those. So being proactive, finding an outlet to just constantly move. And I think just like what you said with mixed martial arts, finding a hobby or something you do in your spare time that makes you move, right? So then you're kind of knocking out two birds with one stone. You're being proactive, you're being physically active, but it's also going to help you mentally because it is that outlet for you. And then it's also just making you move. And then a couple of things that Jeremy said is working on our core, working on our back. Again, if we put all of this together, it's not as much as people think. People hear physical therapist, oh, I have to do these rehabilitative strategies. Oh, I also got to find a hobby. Oh, I also got to, work on my, my mental issues or problems. It's like, well, finding something to where all of this can be incorporated into kind of a single thing, I think will make it less daunting for individuals to kind of overcome these issues. And you are going to have flare-ups. You are going to have, problems, just like Laura said, is, over the week, she had a flare-up. And yes, that is going to happen, but don't let yourself get down. Do something about it, right? I understand, sometimes say if I have a migraine, I'm going to have to sit out for a couple hours and know that nothing's going to happen. But, before and after that, there are things that I can do to either help prevent a flare up or just feel better after it goes away, rather than just taking Motrin and, eating my comfort food and laying on my couch and doom scrolling. So we've gotten some great suggestions from you all. And I want to talk to Veronica about some more available resources, whether it is programs that are available, what they offer at the gym. I know just with Family Life, they also offer a couple things. And I know with all of you guys just being in the military, still in the military, you guys probably also have some suggestions that are available to us. Veronica, can you talk about that a little bit more?
Sure. And my the background for me, most of my experience was with the Marine Corps and what they offer, but we also worked with other services. So I'm familiar with the Army's H2F. From what Colton was saying, I feel like that's the offshoot of what he experienced potentially as that holistic background in the conventional Army. It's moved into H2F. The Air Force has a holistic type of setup where you go into one place. They have your fitness, your wellness, your spiritual guidance, they can have it all. For the Marine Corps, they're trying to bring the obvious fitness related component to other quality of life components that need more attention. Behavioral health, a lot of people still associate. If you think there's a stigma with being injured, imagine the stigma associated with having a mental health issue, with being depressed in the military, with being suicidal in the military. They don't want to talk about it because if you want to talk about the ultimate weakness, what do you mean? It's bad enough they think you can't control your body, now you can't control your brain. So they are trying to integrate all of these things and make people readily available inside the fitness centers, because again, it takes away the stigma. So at Quantico, we have the fitness facility, and then we have another building called Little Hall. The mental health, behavioral health folks reside in Little Hall. So you are either going to Little Hall to go to finance, HR for the military, whatever their version was, or get your ID card, or go see mental health. Everybody knew you didn't need your CAT card, so you were probably, or you were going to see Navy Relief. There was, if you went to the right side of the building, everybody knew what was up. You were either going to talk about alcohol abuse, you could possibly be going in for anger management. One way or the other, nobody wanted to go. The other building, they had the Consolidated Substance Abuse Counseling Center. Nobody wanted to walk in that building. Self-referrals were next to none, because everybody was like, I'm not walking in there. They're all going to know I binge drink on the weekend. I'm not telling anybody, but they're going to see it that I need help. So the Marine Corps started looking at putting them in one place where people are comfortable going, and not even in like an obviously labeled place. So, or they have an individual there in the facility, that one of the first hires to this new movement of the holistic mental, spiritual wellness type of thing, was a resiliency wellness coordinator. And this individual is a licensed social worker or counselor. However, they teach classes that are more referral based. So you go in, they talk about the issues and things that are going on, and then they can offer referrals. What every base has seen happen with this person is they become a belly button for people to just walk in, open the door and go, hi, do you have an hour just to sit and chat? Close the door, and people are just eating this resource up, because it is absolutely just no appointment, no, they put on their PT clothes and go walk in. So nobody is in uniform thinking that they're in the gym. Walk in there, knock on, her name was Alyssa's door, close the door and start talking. And she has taken off with that. And then she is the belly button. She refers them to, oh, you need to talk about something more mental health related. Next week on Tuesday, the behavioral health, the family advocacy person will be here in an office in the back. So now people are rotating through. Oh, your issues or your feelings are stemming from financial problems, big in the military, big, huge. You got 17, 18-year-olds buying cars. They don't even know how to operate a checking account, let alone operate the rest of their finances. So yeah, they're in financial crap, or they have 3 kids by the time they're 20. And then now what? Wonderful, but now what? So we have a financial counselor coming in, and they can sit with Bob. It's literally his name. I'm not just making that up. They can sit with Bob, or they can come in and see the dietitian. I know I'm about to be on the body composition program. I can come in, walk in, Jordan's door is open. I'm going to go sit and talk to Jordan, and then make an appointment and go from there. Or you go up to the fitness deck and everybody thinks you're going to go work out, but you really want to go talk to a trainer about a weakness you have. You're failing this on, you're going to fail your PT or CFT, right? I'm going to go take care of this now. I have a nagging injury or something that's bothering me, but I don't want to be seen going to medical. I'm going to go do this now. So it's helping a lot with offering the resources and availability for a different mindset. And I believe that it is starting to be embraced all at different layers of leadership, because they are seeing the problem. It is the leadership in the Marine Corps that is really dealing with seeing the amount of suicide numbers. The rest of us don't always know about these things. The unit, they'll find out, but they're the ones who have to answer to it. So they're like, we better get ahead of what are other mental health resources and things that we can offer to our Marines? Then we've even watched for the conventional, Army, and for the Marine Corps, run, push, pull, right? Or go in and do traditional weight training was the way to be. Well, the CFT or ACFT woke a lot of people up. You can bench press all day long, you're going to fail one of these things. It doesn't make a difference. So going in and doing traditional training wasn't necessarily the way to go. So the Marine Corps started their high intensity tactical training program to introduce kettlebell training, sprint drills, all the things that are going to make them better at both of those types of testings. those types of programs took off because people realized they were missing something. Then we were looking at our group exercise classes. And yeah, we didn't have Marines running into Zumba because that doesn't really translate into anything that they're going to have to do other than maybe on the weekend. Which, cool, go learn a new move. But they were flocking to spinning, to bike training, and flocking to yoga. And because they were realizing yoga is more than just, I'm going to get bendy. It was also an hour to turn their brain off and go internal. It was spinning was an option to run, 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 run. It works the opposite muscle groups as running, addresses imbalances and weaknesses. It's still cardiovascular training, and people's fitness was improving in ways that were helping with these other things. So offering these options and saying it being units, not spouses as much, but units, groups coming in of active duty folks to use these classes and these resources. So I think that top down, the Marine Corps is understanding they need to change. They need to sell this to the Marines, because if the leadership doesn't sell it, if leadership doesn't start telling, top down, this is how we're going to change what we need to do. If you leave it up to somebody, I know some really, older school kind of gunnies or whatever, and they're like, we don't need that. Well, that's a touchy feely crap. We don't. But if leadership is like, well, gunny, guess what? You're going to go touch and feel some stuff. Well, that didn't sound right, but you know what I mean. You're going to get touchy feely. Oops. But if they can sell it, then the others will buy it. And eventually, it was always really nice to see when that grumpier, senior enlisted, maybe with a slightly tighter mindset, would walk in, do the things and try the things, and then the light bulb would go off, the epiphany would be had, and then they would really sell it. Like, then they go back and like force the issue. Every one of you is going to be in spinning on Tuesday at 6:30 in the morning. So it's been slow, it's been treacherous, it's been hard, but it's happening, and that's wonderful because it needed to happen.
So Colton, you have the next 2 years to make this all happen, okay? Top down, talking about the leadership, you got a lot of work to do.
It's too easy, too easy.
So in 2 years, we're going to come back and be like, all right, the entire military is where it's supposed to be at, right?
I did it. Yep.
Well, thank you. Those were some great resources, and I'm so excited just to see this transition. Does anybody else have any resources that you guys have used that you would recommend, whether inside the military, outside, through the VA, just in general? Don't let me down. Okay.
I'll go. So not resources per se. I know we said like you can have all the resources available, but it's up to the person to go out and use them, which is very true. I would also say it's what or who you surround yourself, who and what you surround yourself, how you're feeling yourself. Like I have some great coworkers that even if I don't necessarily feel like I need a break to go and stretch, every once in a while we'll just like peek around the corner, go to each other, just like, hey, you want to take a walk? And just surrounding yourself with like-minded people who are going to encourage you to do your stretches or exercise, even if it feels like it's nagging. But it's for your own good. So yes, you have to put in the work, you have to take the initiative, but also maybe surround yourself with positive people and things.
Nice. Yeah, that's definitely true. So again, it starts with the leadership, Colton, but also just working with your coworkers and just trying to learn from everybody. And if the people you're surrounded with is not very helpful, then maybe that needs to be you. So we've discussed a lot of valuable information from Laura and Colton about their experiences with chronic pain in and outside of the military, Jeremy with some of his physical therapy recommendations, Veronica giving us some great resources. But I want to give everybody a final chance. Do you have anything you would like to share or anything? Available resources, just little tidbits, anything. Not all at once, though.
I'll kick us off. Okay. My advice is to take care of yourself. first and foremost. Like Colton said, like we've mentioned, like fill your cup first. It's wonderful to continue to serve on a different platform, even when you take the uniform off. But whether you're still wearing the uniform or you're, outside of it, you still need to take care of yourself so you can take care of others. So take care of yourself.
And I would say, just from a perspective of if you're active duty or wherever you are, one of the things that helped a lot is if you do see someone who is looking like they're struggling. It could be in active duty, it could be whether they're struggling mentally, spiritually, or physically. Be that person that walks up to them and goes, "You're right. What's up?" It doesn't have to be awkward, honestly. And then maybe if they have any comfort level with you, they'll be able to say, something. It could be very surface level, but you could just point them in the right direction or offer to, again, be that person who, again, even active duty, like, hey, you want to get up from your desk and take a walk down the hall, and just remove the person from something, a situation that's not possibly best for them. You see someone who sits in the barracks all the time and just drinks on the weekend. Hey, do you want to get out and go to a movie? Try to instill that sort of extend an olive branch sort of thing to, an arm, a hand, to try to, when you see someone else struggling, because we all know how easy it is to walk past something. We all like to maybe look at the train wreck, but we don't want to pull over off the side of the road and see what we can do to help. And it can be so simple. Just if no one has asked them if they're okay, like, you're right, you're not laughing as much as you've been, whatever, then maybe they just feel like they don't have anybody or anything. And that can do wonders. And it opens a door, and you become, someone that people can trust, and you really can change someone's entire existence by just, "You all right? What's up?" Something like that. It can be that simple. Very powerful. So.
Yeah, thank you.
I can just take it back to the physical side too. So first, go see a medical professional. On the military side, if you don't go get that checked out, it's never on your record. It never happened. So if you do want to get some of these resources in the VA when you do get out, they're not just going to take your word for it. They need that paper trail to help link it back to a service-related condition. Second, getting ahead of it. So if you have a little nagging injury, don't just Google or ask old Billy Bob over there. Going actually seeing maybe fixing the root of the issue very quickly is a lot easier up front than waiting 10 years down the road because you're just going to keep falling in further and further into that ailment. So if, something's tight and you keep compensating, something else is going to, might break. So basically just go get it checked out. As others have mentioned, there might be a stigma around it, but you need to take care of yourself first and foremost. Because if you can't be there to be strong and take care of yourself, you can't help other people after that.
Yeah, that's very true. So being proactive when it comes to if you have a nagging injury, try to get ahead of it. But that's very true. Is when we're in the military, we don't want to say anything because if we say something, it's going to be on our record. And honestly, until like you're about to get out or you're already out, you'll realize, oh, maybe I should have said something because now there's a lot more resources available through the VA or through the military once they see that you have had something. So again, being proactive with that, being proactive with our mental health. If we need help, go out there. It's pretty much up to you. You got to be the one to go make that happen for you. But also you should also be a person to where if you see it in other people, to take that extra step and to help them as well. So everybody's good. Colton, got anything to say? Put you on blast here.
I'll just say, piggybacking off what everybody else said, motion is lotion. Two things we can definitely dictate our lives is hydration, stretching. Two things you can do that cost nothing for the most part. Hydration and stretching. I understand fueling, the nutrition, the dietitian piece. Maybe a little bit of a stretch for some people, but I think the motion, you're moving, your hydration, your stretching, all things that are within our control daily. So I think that alone would help people get their foot in the door and realize they need to be healthier in other aspects of their lives as well. But those things are a good foundational base and structure to be able to start with.
Yeah, and you brought that up before. It's all of it is free or it's very budget friendly. And like we heard from Veronica, is a lot of military have, find themselves in financial issues. So if you can find the resources or do the things that don't cost money, then that just overall helps a lot of everything. So it's been such a bleh, I can't talk now. It's been such a pleasure speaking with all of you. So I thank you for your service in and outside of the military, and just for the knowledge of speaking with all of our audience. As for my listeners, if you have any further questions or comments or would like more info about the reference materials that I discussed, please feel free to contact me. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you, guys.